I'm so excited to share this episode with you because I feel like this is going to be a game changer, not only for our parenting and for our kids' futures, but for our anxiety and our kids' anxiety. If this sounds too good to be true, keep listening. Hello, friend. I am so excited to dive into this episode. First of all, though, if you're watching this on YouTube, you might notice that I've got a new little setup here, new microphone. I've got my, what are these called? Headphones on, because my amazing podcast producer said that my sound quality could be a little bit better. So we have an upgraded microphone. We could do a little ASMR here. We're not going to do that though. But okay. This is actually a serious subject. Why do I do this? Why do I take a serious subject and have to act like that in the beginning? Because this is who I am. All right. I have gotten my composure and we are going to dive into today's episode. I also want to say it is a dark, dreary, rainy, cozy day. So I'm actually super excited to be in my cozy office coming into your ears today. Okay. So over the summer, my husband and I had 4 glorious weeks when both of our kids were away at sleepaway camp. This was the first time we have had child-free time. And not going to lie, we made the best of it. We took a road trip up to Montreal with a couple of our friends. We did a solo weekend to Nantucket. So we had a good amount of car time, just the two of us. And on these road trips, we started chatting about how different the world is going to look for our kids' future than it does right now. And then, as we do, we started thinking about how we can prepare our kids for a future reality that we cannot predict. And I started thinking about how so many of the ways that we are trying to prepare our kids for the future is actually not going to be helpful. One major example is what they're learning in school, or what I should say is not learning in school. Now, don't come at me. I am a huge proponent of education. I just feel like it hasn't caught up with what our kids actually need to learn. And it's really, I think, more obvious when we think about what's missing from what they're learning. So I thought, what if I came up with a framework that will help ensure that my kids go out into the world and I will know that they will be okay and they know that they will be okay. So while my husband was driving, I created a shared notes app just in the iPhone notes app. And I created what I'm calling a life skills list of all the things that we want to teach our kids before they leave the house to go to college. Yes, I'm assuming they will still go to college. It's not that many years away. I'm assuming it will still be relevant, although I do think it's less relevant than it used to be. And this is coming from a super proud Michigan alum, go Blue. I also have a master's from Harvard. So it is crazy for me to even say out loud that the value of higher education is changing. Although, to be honest, we've been talking about this for, 15 years, ever since I got my degree from Harvard. Let's not sidebar and have that conversation right now. We can circle back to that another time. Okay. So I was thinking about all the things that I wanted to teach my kids before they leave the house and go on to college. And I'm going to share what that list is in a few minutes. But first, I want to talk just a bit more about the context and why I think this is so important. In all of my research with teaching my own kids and my members' kids to get organized, I have seen a ton of really good data on how competence builds confidence and how independence builds confidence. And I'm sure you've seen this parenting advice that says, don't do things for kids that they can do for themselves. Now, there's a lot to unpack there for moms listening to this, because I think we have so much guilt around not doing for our kids. We feel like we should be doing all the things for them. And, life is hard and they have so many pressures on them and we should make their lives as easy as possible. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But we are actually not helping them by doing that. And when we do things for them, that they can do for themselves rather than them feeling like they're being taken care of, most often they feel like we don't trust their ability to do that thing. And none of us wants to do that. I think about my 11-year-old daughter, just turned 11. She makes herself fried eggs on the stove almost every morning by herself. I do require that an adult be in the kitchen, but she can make herself eggs. If I was worried about her getting burned or something happening, which, I am slightly, I would be the one cooking her eggs. Not only do I not want to cook her eggs every morning before school, I love that she feels so competent and confident that she can do this herself. And think about all the times we do things for our kids that we're actually sending them a message. Oh, I can do this better. I can do this quicker. I just don't think you can do it. Whereas if we gave them the opportunity and the ability to do it, how much better they would feel about themselves. And there's the added bonus of then we don't have to do these things. It really is win-win. No, they will not do things exactly the way we want them to. Yes, these are always learning lessons and opportunities, but this is how they build their confidence and independence. You cannot give a child confidence by telling them how amazing they are all the time if they don't have the skill set and experience to back it up. You cannot teach a child how to be independent without actually giving them the opportunity to be independent, right? When I say it out loud, it makes sense, but when we are in the thick of parenting, we don't think about it like that. So that is the whole context of this life skills list. And I was thinking about it as really being the antidote to helicopter parenting, which if you find yourself being a helicopter parent, which is this concept of just constantly hovering over your children, no judgment, no shame, but just know that there is a ton of research out there that is increasingly showing how big of a negative impact it has on our kids, on their self-esteem, on their, not just self-esteem, on their happiness, on their ability to be happy later in life because they don't know how to do anything for themselves and because external circumstances have been so contrived for them that they actually can't function well in typical work environments. And it's really fascinating. So we don't want to do that for our kids. We want to set them up for success. And what's so hard about that is all that helicopter parenting comes out of loving our kids and wanting to set them up for success. It just doesn't work. So I have seen with my own kids through the years how getting organized has given my kids some incredible life skills and confidence already. And I'm going to share what those are. But this list builds upon that. So I have seen with my kids, one of whom has ADHD, the increased executive functioning. I mean, my kids' executive functioning is so strong. One comes by it naturally and the other does not. And they are both incredible in this area. My kids wake up on their own and get ready for school. They leave in the morning. Their bus picks them up at 7:01 a.m. So they have to get up, get themselves ready, get themselves breakfast. Yes, I'm up and around and with them, but I am not doing it for them. So they have already that incredible life skill. My son has gone to sleepaway camp for the past several summers, and many summers in a row now, he is the go-to person in the bunk to help his bunkmates get organized with their clothing when it comes back from the laundry, helping them fold it and put it away, help them make their beds because they get their cabins have to be inspected in the morning or I don't know what happens. They get points deducted or they can't do super fun things. I'm not even sure, but they have to be able to do this at camp. And he's the one who can help his bunkmates to make sure that they don't get anything taken away from them. And, I've mentioned my daughter making eggs multiple times, but the other thing is she doesn't have to wait for me to be ready to make her breakfast. Yes, I want there to be an adult in the kitchen, but it doesn't mean she has to wait for me to do it for her. And these skills are amazing. My kids know how to use the laundry machine, and I'm very proud of all they can do. And there's so much more that I want them to learn. Now, we know that our kids learn from watching us, right? We model the behavior for them. And that is great. So I started thinking about what are all the things that they don't even see that we do that I'd like them to know about. And either they don't see it because they're not paying attention, right? They're on their phones or they're distracted, or it's stuff that happens when they're at school or just in their own world. So what are those things? And I'm actually going to open up my phone right now and I'm going to share. I'm not going to share the exact skills. I'm more going to share the categories that we are bucketing them under because we're still building this out. And my husband and I have not talked to our kids about this yet because we want to have our list fully ironed out. And then we're going to bring them in on the conversation and see what their thoughts are. So our broad categories are manners. It's super important to us that our kids have good manners when they are at friends' houses or they're in public or they're out at restaurants. And then we think about when they're on job interviews or they're taking clients out, right? Do they have proper manners? Finances is a huge one, and not just superficial, here's a bank card, here's a credit card. Kids know that now, but what does it mean to balance a bank account? What is it, what is the stock market? How does it work? What is equity? What is debt? All the things. Home maintenance. Now, I got to admit that my husband and I are not particularly skilled in the home maintenance area, but some things are, here's what you need to know to have on your radar. Not that you actually have to do it, just know that you have to outsource it to someone. Health is a huge category, and we did mental, physical, emotional, spiritual health all under there. And they'll all be equally important. There'll be more tactical things with physical health. We were bucketing like swimming under there and CPR, but all the things. Do you know how to make a doctor's appointment? I'm sure you've seen these reels on Instagram or TikTok where kids don't even know what a social security number is, right? They don't know where to find it. They can't even answer basic questions when they're trying to make an appointment. It's so comical, but also not, because how are they supposed to know it if we haven't taught them? A next category for us is philanthropy, or what we call in the Jewish tradition, tikkun olam, which is repairing the world. Philanthropy is a huge value in our family. And that sometimes looks like giving money to causes, sometimes looks like giving time and volunteering, but really imparting into our kids the importance of it. They've seen it a lot through us and they study it in Hebrew school. My son already had his bar mitzvah. My daughters will be studying for hers, and that's a big component of it. But we wanted to make sure that it had its own category. Cars. Do you know how to change a flat tire? I do not. I do know how to call AAA though, right? So some of it is like, yes, it would be great if they could change a tire, but if they're not, at least they know what to do about it. And like, where is a spare tire in a car? Do you even have one, right? All of these things. And what happens if your car stalls? I mean, I know with electric cars, things are changing rapidly, but all the things, where's the owner's manual in the car? How do you get gas? How do you fill air in your tires, right? Like these are things we do all the time with our kids in the car. Now we can have them get out of the car and watch them do it. And another bucket is communication / relationships, right? How do you be a good partner? How do you be a good friend? So we are probably going to add categories, and then within each category, we are going to be adding specific things to it. But I was just too excited about this to wait to share it with you until it was fully fleshed out, because I think this is so exciting from the perspective of it's going to help us worry less about our kids. Because we just want our kids to go out in the world and be happy and be positive, contributing members of society. And I feel like if we can do this well, it checks off both of those boxes. And then it helps them with their own anxiety because they get to go out in the world and be happy and feel confident and know that if they are in a situation that, something happens, they don't have to freak out because they are like, okay, I blew a tire on the highway. Let me pull over the side of the road. Like this happens. I call AAA, right? Like they know what to do in these situations. So that's the list. So what does this look like? So are you familiar with this concept of I do, we do, you do? I use this in our parenting. I use it with my team members who I have to train something on. So this idea is I do something and you watch me do it the first time. So you can see me doing it. Then when I and you feel comfortable, we will do it together. And then once I have confidence that you can do it without me, then you do it. So let's take the example of my daughter frying her eggs. I really didn't think that her egg frying ability was going to take center stage for this episode. But here we are, friends. We are down the rabbit hole with it already. So let's keep going. So when my daughter wanted to learn how to fry eggs, she would watch me do it. So she'd, watch me. We use Pam spray most often. It's just easier than butter. She'd watch me spray the pan, turn on the stovetop, hear the click, 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 because we have a gas stove, see it ignite, the flame comes up. What do you set it on? Watch how I crack an egg. Where do I put the shells once they're cracked, right? How long do you have to wait before you flip it? How do you flip it without breaking the yolk? All the things. So she's watching me several times. Then so that's the I do. What does the we do look like? It's all right. Now I'm going to have you turn on the stove. Okay. Hear the click, click, click. This is okay. Now here's when you turn it, right? We're talking her through step by step. Okay. Now the stove's on. Maybe I'm going to crack this egg. You've done pieces of it. I'm going to do more pieces of it until eventually we're doing all of it together. And then I can take a step back and say, okay, this morning you do it by yourself. And she knows everything. Listen, sometimes an entire egg and yolk falls on the floor or into the stove. It still happens. She's 11 and really just turned 11. So she's been doing this since she was 9, I think. It's not perfect, but neither are we. How often do you crack an egg and it doesn't go well, right? But now she knows how to do it. So this is the way that we're going to do all these things on our list. This I do, we do, you do. And I think it is going to be really powerful. I know it is because I can already see in the places where we've done it, how it's had such an impact on my kids' competence, on their confidence, on their independence. And I'm so excited once they master everything on this list that we will co-create, because as I said, they will weigh in on it, how freaking good they're going to feel. And then how much less I'm going to be worrying about them, because we also have things on there like their mental health and their physical health. So it's easy, I think, to say okay, well, I know that in an emergency situation, they're going to be able to handle this because we know we've talked this through, but how are they going to handle emotionally? Well, we're putting emotional health on that list too. So I'm really excited about this. And it makes me think when we talk about this, really the duality of life and how, it's not about teaching our kids that everything is going to go perfectly. It's that problems are going to arise. How are we going to solve them? And that's all part of life. My daughter went to sleepaway camp for the first time over the summer, and she was really, really homesick the whole time. And she had so much fun. And we had all these conversations about you can miss us and have so much fun at the same time. And I feel like it's a lesson that I'm learning now as an adult, just this duality of we can be happy and sad at the same time. And one does not discount the other. And we don't need to have the happiness to erase the sad. We want to feel both of them. And this life skills list is really a piece of that. In order to have a really fun, exciting, adventurous life, you have to learn how to do these really, I don't even want to call them mundane because that sounds negative, but just this is life. These are the things that have to happen in our day-to-day lives. And when we can master them, we can channel so much less energy into doing them. And that gives us so much more time and energy to just have more fun, which at the end of the day, friend, is what it is really all about. So I am super excited to get my kids to weigh in on this and start banging through some of these tasks. This is the type of time that I enjoy spending with my kids, right? Teaching them life skills and doing things together that help our family be productive, help them learn something, help get it off our to-do list. So I will be so curious to hear how this goes for you. Parenting is hard. Life is hard. The world is unpredictable, but let's make our parenting count and actually prepare our kids for the real world in a way that we can control, right? Because so much is out of our control, and a way that makes them and us feel so good. So I really encourage you to create your own life skills list or use mine as a jumping off point. And once I have a sense that by the time this episode airs, I will have the list fully fleshed out. So if you DM me at Grid and Glam on Instagram, I will share my list with you. I'll do a little copy and paste, or maybe I'll share that the notes with you. If I can share it, I think I can share it in a way that I create a template and then you can upload it into your own phone. So DM me at Grit and Glam and I'll share my list with you. And let's keep this conversation going. Friend, you are amazing. I hope you have an incredible day.